Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995 Studio A. And now onto the show. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's that time of the day on a Monday. Okay, if you have any questions, please call in. I'm here to answer them. The number is 888-994-4995, Studio A. I'm going to start with the opening from my book, Call Me Zena. I had written prose. This is many years ago. I had no idea what I was writing, but today when I read it, it makes so much more sense over the years. This is like 17 years ago. So I just open. I usually ask somebody, give me the number between whatever the number is that the prose is on, and I read it. So I'm going to read this. It's called This World, This Life, This Illusion. I had no idea what I was doing. I was in some sort of a trance. What is going on, we ask? What is happening? Why not take the time and see what is happening? This world as we know it seems so real, and yet so far from where we came. Corruption, greed, anger, power, revenge. Please wake up. We can change what is around us. How, we may ask? Learn to go back to where we were. Then we will have the clues. Then we will change and go forward. Please take this time. Do not fall into the game which we have put upon ourselves. We can change. We can make a difference. We have the power, each and every one of us. Go with peace. Go with love. Go with one, as one. Zena. So I think that's a good opening. So anybody that has any questions, please call her in, or anybody in our studio audience.
Sadly,
I'm ready.
I think that you were talking about out-of-body experiences and things of that nature.
Yes.
And we had a similar incident one night. But I wanted to take this to another level and ask you, experiences come with a tail. So you get into something happening, messages are coming, things happen in the studio today, where you see things on people, and then you have this out-of-body experience, and there's a tail that comes. How does that come about?
It's hard to explain it, but you've seen me and how I even change when my show comes on. I have no idea. I just know that I'm tuning into something. I say I have no idea how it comes about. We don't necessarily have to meditate for hours. It just comes over us. And what is relevant to what we meant to be talking about will just happen. Your question too. I mean, I've had many, many out-of-body experiences without even knowing at the time what was happening. I did not meditate. I just fell asleep, and then these things happened. I'm not saying don't do that, because it is a help, but for myself, I didn't necessarily need to know that much. It just seemed to happen to me, as you know, and you've seen me many times, and which I am now, in a trance-like state. So everybody is different. And our timing, as they call it, for waking up is also different. But I don't believe that anything is coincidental. Just even in the studio today, we've seen a few things that weren't coincidental.
But is it a message? Is it a formula? Is it something that somebody's trying to tell you?
Okay,
something you were living?
It depends where we are, Freddie. Everybody is different on this journey. I was ready and I did not know it, and I had a lot of help because my actual guide did show up in physicality for me. So that was the way that I was meant to be learning, and I had 18 years of him teaching me and telling me that I had already known this in a prior life. Now your situation could be entirely different, although we had a very similar experience. And yours and anybody else's, it's different. When we're ready, we will find a teacher. This, you know, I'd heard that before, but it makes so much sense. And for myself, so much has happened to me over the last 18 years. I feel that I am guided to certain people that may be ready to just wake up. I can only tell them, which I was telling you before, by my own experiences. They don't have to believe me, but I know what's happened to me. And if I can pass that on, maybe 5 or 6 people are listening, and maybe 1 or 2 might be able to relate. I don't know, because I don't know who I'm talking to. But anybody that steps into my life, especially here in the cafe, and they ask me a question, I believe it's very relevant.
It's a good thing you decided to show up because, you know, you were supposed to come here 2 years prior, 3
That's
years
right.
prior. You didn't.
But it's a lot
didn't
to
show
do.
up.
And this is another thing that I'm learning. Of course I'm learning, although I've been doing this now for quite a while on my journey. I wasn't ready. I probably wasn't ready 2 years ago. However, my guide, Aldo, who is in my book as Adamir, was with me the first. I just realized that. He was around. He could have come into the cafe. He knew. And, you know, I believe that he's definitely in contact. It's his birthday today, which I just, you know, he passed away nearly 2 years ago.
And who's Aldo for those of us?
Aldo is my spirit guide that showed up in physicality, who had been looking for me. And I learned so much. And if I can pass that on, I'm happy to do so. Do we have a phone call? Or
No.
Oh,
It's
okay.
one of the gentlemen.
Oh, okay. So I feel that, you know, my message to people is the fact that you've even tuned into my show. I have a nice following today on my show. Is that even though some of what I'm saying might not even relate to you or you may not realize, but I believe that it's not coincidence even for my audience that are listening. They're listening for a reason and a purpose, and especially people that have come into the cafe. We've met, and you know that, both Dawn and Freddie know that, the people that we have met here, that normally if I'm out, I have not, it's in here. There's something going on in here, and you both know that. So.
Well, it's interesting because today you have people in studio audience that have their own story, things that have occurred to them, things that have happened, and they write their own tale. And it isn't, you know, when you meet people, like meeting her, you sort of get a sense and you sort of see things that happen, and then it happens in front of her, and she sits there and says, wow, this is kind of eerie because you had said something about it happening, but this happens all the time. And you've had a colorful life. You've done a lot of things, including cleaning a gun and shooting yourself in the hand.
Well,
You've done
none
a
of
lot
it,
of things.
especially with the studio audience here, this is not coincidental. I believe that you should be sitting here, which we'd had a little conversation before, for myself too, and for you, Dawn and Freddie too, because what you offer as a service is exactly what I need to get. I had COVID, which I explained, and 6 weeks later, I'm still getting side effects from this. And I said, you know, I have to do something different than taking pills. And here you show up. So it works for all, not just me, it works for all of us.
Well, it's funny because ever since I met her, I've discovered that getting well, healing, for me is not just an internal thing. It's an external thing. And the lesson that I've learned is that me getting better gives somebody else an opportunity to follow that path and get better. So it's not an internal healing, it's an external healing.
And that's what I feel that my show is about too, because I can talk about what's happened. We were just saying that, what's happened to me. And if I can help, maybe there's, you know, our numbers are high, but whatever it is, however many people are listening, hopefully there are a few people that can relate to part of my story or your story or anybody in the studio, because it's passing this on. I totally feel that, you know, you can say the word teacher, but because I've had a lot happen to me, I'm no different to anybody. We can all do that. But I opened up about 20 years ago, and it just comes flooding in. Everybody, the right people, the right messages, the right pills, or not necessarily pills to take. It's all there for us to just, you know, grab it. Again, it's also vibrational energy, which is another, you know, subject that I like. But if you just, there's positive and negative, which we'd explained about. So I always try to, you know, be positive. And so many things happen. However, on the flip side, even if you're negative, sometimes that's a lesson you have to learn that you can turn into a positive. So that's another show, but I'm happy.
I was just going to say it's mind, body, and spirit. You can't just heal the body. It has to be the mind and the spirit also, or else you'll never be healthy.
I totally agree with that. And you have to, in order to have to understand that sometimes, it takes a little bit of changing your whole attitude, of being aware that maybe there's something outside of us that's there that we can tap into. And when you start to believe that, and that's a lot of what I talk, I mean, we've just met, but I talk a lot about that on my show, because if you don't believe it, even though it might be there, you're not going to feel it or see it. So that's a great, you know, way to describe that. Absolutely, because no matter if it's your health or what you want to do, as long as you're open to that, all you have to do is ask, be it God, be it however you want to, a higher power, it will be there for you. I
And
love
it
that.
could be external, it could be internal. Now, your gift, you lit this man up today.
Yeah.
If you see, he's floating around here. He's ready to tackle the Empire State Building simply because you put a little art on his neck.
Yeah.
And it felt to him, he felt like you woke him up.
Yeah. I mean, well, tattooing, a lot of people see it as like the, just like a way to modify your aesthetics, but in reality, it's like a whole ritual kind of a thing, you know? Like there's like blood involved, there's metal involved, there's vibration involved. It's a lot deeper than just like putting a design on people. And like when you get a tattooer that understands that, it like reflects in not just the artwork, but the way that the person's moves on with their life afterwards.
It's following, which I also talk about too. I know you just met me, but I talk about following your passion. And if you follow your passion, I'm also an artist. I do some crazy art here, but I believe that if you follow your passion, and everybody has a passion within them, they may not be woken up to it, but once you do it might be totally opposite from what you're doing, which was me too, with what happened to me. I don't believe you can go wrong, because if you're doing that, that transfers, like you do the tattooing to the person that you're doing this on. They're going to feel that energy that you have. Just like if someone looks at my painting, someone told me a little while ago, it's organized chaos, but that's where their mind took them. And then I got to think about it, because as long as you're doing what you want to do, and I love to call that passion, everybody has a passion. They may not know it, but if you follow that, and it doesn't matter also what age you are, because I'm later on, I often mention it now in my life, and this all came to me 20 years ago. So even being in the studio, so I believe that that was transferred to the person that you were doing the tattoo, and it escalates from there.
Well, it's the path. It's finding out that you have a certain gift, whether it's inside or outside, depending on how you approach it, and how people feel about themselves. He's still dancing. He's still dancing.
Because you transferred your energy, especially when you're working on somebody, it works.
It lit him up. And the nice thing to see is that when you do these skills, when you know, like you said something today to me about I don't recognize seeing somebody because you cure them and they don't come back. That's a great problem to have. I wish the world knew more about what you do, that they don't have to come back because they've been cured of whatever bothers them. But again, it's the calling and then deciding what's the best way to approach the masses. You know, it's funny because the Bible talks about Jesus taking a fish and feeding millions with 2 fishes or 3 fishes or whatever. You know, it's all symbolic of a healer. That's exactly who we are. That's what you do, is you can heal the masses with a very simple thing like a plant.
And again, the person, whoever it is they have to believe that, though, because if you believe it, so much opens up. It doesn't matter, even if you don't understand, but just believe that it's possible, which I'm sure you've come across people that may say to you, I don't know if this is going to help. I am going to come to you. You can hear my voice is going. This apparently is long COVID, but I have no idea. But I believe that you can definitely help me, and that's by then, you're already halfway there, I believe, yes.
Well, she's also, if you get to get and talk to her, her story is a little different because she not only shows it and preaches it, she lives it. She's been down this path. She's looking for cures and antidotes and different things. She's a body chemistry set in walking. Diabetics have, and she's a one, diabetics have this thing where you're trying to figure out what works. You know, stress in the morning is not the same thing as stress in the afternoon. Having not enough water is not the same thing as having too much water. So there's all sorts of body chemistry that goes on as well.
Absolutely. And even what I do, Freddie, you have to, it's a journey. Your health is a journey, but you have to start somewhere. What I do, excuse my voice, this is ridiculous. Sorry, I feel all right. But you have to start with an open mind. You have to believe that there's something else, be it your health, be it where you're going, be it even your passion. Just believe that your passion is what you're following that will help you get to where you want to go. It definitely will. Excuse me.
So we're right back to the first question opening the show. You know, you have these gifts. You have all these things. Some of us, unfortunately, had to learn the gifts because of our health. and we had to improve our health to be able to continue the journey. Some of us shouldn't be cleaning guns because even though you're in the military, things happen, accidents happen. But it's your calling about how it comes upon you and what you do with it, how you heal people, whether it's inside or out. I think that that's the message that I wanted to express with you today, because you have all these things. Dawn had a dream last night, and she doesn't stop talking about it.
And again, nothing is coincidence. You come in here and tell me your dream, and I had not quite the same as yours, but I wasn't sure where I was. And I have not stopped thinking about it since last night till today, till I came in. Your dream followed my dream. That's not unusual, though. We obviously were in some sort of a different, not in this country, somewhere else. And I know when you start thinking about your dream and it has a real feeling to it. Of course, I believe in, the astral plane, and I believe that we were there having some sort of conversation and we took ourselves to a certain place, which I wanted to talk about it on my show today, because that we get our messages. It's whether we go into it more, but if we're ready, it'll keep showing ourselves. Like even we talked about karma. We may need to get rid of certain things, but we may not completely understand that, but the same situation will keep showing itself. When you become aware, it's time to change that and go into what can I do now, because this keeps happening to me. People say that often. Why does this keep happening to me again and again? Well, it's there to teach us. Everything is to teach us something. So if we don't take notice of it, and many people don't, majority of people actually don't, it'll show itself. Of course, I believe in previous lives and lives that are happening that will go on, that it'll keep showing until we begin to take note. Say, there has to be a reason for this. Why does this keep happening to me? I mean, it's happened to me before I even understood that. People say they keep picking the same person as a partner, just for an example. And they keep picking the same a different partner with the same problems that they had with their last partner, because they're not changing. We need to change and wake up a little bit.
But deja vu. So you've ever been in a situation and you find yourself in the same situation and you go, I was here. How does that happen? Is that prior life? Is that frequency interaction? How does that happen?
I can answer that, but it's going to take another show probably. But we have different timelines, and I won't go into that now, but we can switch timelines. In fact, we do that more often than we realize. But when you're becoming aware of it, we may have, and this sounds very way out, but hopefully by now my audience that are following me realize that this what this show is about. But we are repeating something that we've already done. We just don't remember it. So we get little things that happen. I know this has happened to me. I'm having a conversation and I say deja vu, which we've all mentioned, but I kind of even know what my next words are going to be. How does that happen? Because I truly believe in my world, and we'll talk about that maybe on another show, that we have experienced that before. Because how can you know what words you're going to say? It happens.
And how is it you can see somebody else's timeline?
Can you see some? Well, if you've been in that situation with that person in that timeline, yes, you're going to recognize the person. Part of you can. We actually come into this world here and we've forgotten everything. Most people anyway. So what has happened when we get a situation that we kind of know that what's going to happen, I think we need to break. Oh, okay. Bye-bye. Was that?
You want to take a commercial?
We can do, yeah. Okay.
Take a commercial?
Well, don't go anywhere. We're coming right back with a very interesting conversation. My story starts at 4 or 5 years old. My name is Sally Barnard, and I was born at the end of the Second World War, in the middle of an air raid siren going off. My parents were in a movie theater, and my mother went into labor. My father ran out of the movie theater, but there was no cabs to be available because everybody is running for cover. However, they found one, and the taxi driver was given the address to take my father and my mother to the hospital. As my mother was in labor, about a half an hour, I arrived at exactly midnight. I think I was fed messages at a very early age. My parents used to like to play cards, and they had a card game every Wednesday or Thursday night at home when I was a baby. And I actually said to them one day, why do you keep waking me up at night? The card game is waking me up, and I can't get back to sleep so quickly. And they looked at each other and they said, we're not really waking her up. They were quite away from my bedroom. And they called in a psychic to say, what in the world is going on? And the psychic said that I'm getting many messages that are waking me up at night. I thought whatever I was experiencing, other people were experiencing too. You don't know until you realize that you are different. Many things were happening to me, things that were unexplainable to me. What I had dreamt was happening. I could sense many things, and the things that I was sensing were coming about, but something was going on. I will explain to you everything. You're ready.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Barnard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com, or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybarnard.com. Now back to the show. Hi, we're back. Questions. I love questions. I don't mind what it's about, but just ask me a question.
All right, I've got a question for you. We're talking about my dream.
Right.
Do you think that means I was actually out of body or I was just dreaming?
No, you are out of body. You remember it. You remember the details?
Yes.
If you have a dream, and I learned this because I was out of my body like 3 times a week for nearly a year. I was going everywhere. I remember every detail from 20 years ago. You remember what you saw. A dream is like, it's in our subconscious. Aldo explained that for people that don't know, that know me by now, was my guide here. And he explained to me that if it's just a dream, it's what you may have seen around you the day before or even a week before. But when it's more and it goes deeper, which is our super consciousness, and again, this is another show, but it stays in your mind and you see the details, you see everything. I truly believe we are out of our body at that point. We're on an astral plane and we can continue to do that. You can go back into that too. I did from many of my experiences that I would go to bed and he told me that I could actually in my mind say this is where I want to go, and it would be a continuation of maybe a month before of a dream or whatever I'm meant to be learning, because you learn that way too. So it's out of body.
Just ours to interpret.
When I was younger, I had much.
Did you understand what the dreams meant?
No, I didn't. I actually had a sleep study to study
Use your
my
mic.
dreams.
And what did they tell you?
Nothing. It told me nothing.
So nobody. So,
no.
do you ever have the dreams occur?
Not that I'm older. I kind of think that life gets in the way of my dreams. Although I say I never have dreams, but I had one last night. And
So you had a dream.
Well, it was like a vision, and it woke me up because it startled me so much. But occasionally, but I don't have, consistently go into that dream state. I don't do that.
You do, but you're just not remembering it. I believe we all do that. And not everyone is out of body, but I think we do because we go to an astral plane. But that's interesting because you have told me a few things that have happened to you. And I say, and I'll say it again now, this isn't coincidental. And I think maybe I'm meant to tell you that, yes, your dreams have reasons and purpose. Not every dream, because we dream and we don't remember. But for the ones that you do, go into it a little bit, and maybe you're going to see something.
Well, last night I had a weird one, and it was just the picture of the front of my house and a guy in a white tank top, older gentleman, not in shape, standing in front of my house. And this face, it kind of zoomed into his face, and that scared me so much that I woke up.
Yeah, well, fear actually will take, I'm not saying that wasn't the end of the dream, it possibly might have been, but fear is our biggest enemy here. Oh, excuse my voice again. But we dream for reasons because we're there and we're remembering that. It's just like when we come in here, we've all been here before, or unless it's at some other place, which is another topic too, the different planets. But we remember, if we take notice of it, it'll have a reason and a purpose. And it may not show up right away. I'm not going to say tomorrow, oh, I'm going to see that person. But somewhere along the way, you may see that person, or you may have a remembrance of your dream, and that will open you up to a little bit more. I don't get scared too easily today, obviously, because so much has happened to me. But if you have that fear, it's going to take it away. It's our own safety valve, if you want to say. You're not ready. But the fact that you're remembering the details of that, I believe that you were somewhere. And if you should encounter someone like that, don't be afraid, because that's where you're meant to be on your journey. Okay. I'm not saying you will, but they have a reason. We dream these things for a reason.
What was it that hit the face?
Just like it was a faraway picture. It was a faraway picture of the house that I live in now. And then it zoomed in, and I could see the man. I could see exactly where he's standing. He's in a white
The house
t-shirt.
zoomed in, or the man?
The man. Like, it just kind of...
From the back or from the front?
From the front.
So you were standing by the house?
I was in front of the house somewhere.
So you were standing in front of the house?
And then I saw...
And he zoomed in?
Yeah.
Was it a black or in white? Black and white or color?
Not sure.
We don't always know that for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, it depends. One is a message and one
I
is a
see the
warning.
white shirt.
Oh,
He had black pants on, or black shorts. He was a bald guy.
The interesting thing is that you're in front of the house. You're not behind the house.
Yeah, I was in front. Why? Why is that interesting?
Well, because if it's in black and white, it's a message, and if it's in color, if it's in color, it's a message. Or in black and white, it's something you lived.
Something I lived?
Something you lived through.
Not sure about that one.
Well, they say that if it's in color, angels are talking to you.
I never heard that, but that's interesting.
If it's in black and white, it's
But
something
a lot
you
of
lived
people
through.
don't remember if for some reason we don't always know. But now I'm aware of it.
But
too.
when you sit down and you think about it
Yeah.
the way she is now,
Right.
she'll come up with it.
Right.
Because see, a lot of
Well,
people
you
you don't remember your dreams simply because they don't have a significance to you until you think about it.
Well, not all the dreams. It could be something that's happened today, and we could dream about sitting here. We know that happened.
100%.
But if it's not, and it's more, and it has a message, I'm going to say that that's it could be an out of body, because that's what we were going to talk about too, because it's we have an astral plane, and we go to that plane, and we talk with everybody, people deceased or people that are here. We have conversations, as you know.
Yeah, well, everything has a significance to
Right.
it. It just depends if you sit down and you think about it, and then it will come to you. I was telling Dawn, I had a dream last night that my son Gio was running for presidency, and he was in a forest, but it wasn't a forest. It was a city, and there was ocean, there was water, which is movement, and it was in color, and it's a message, right? Maybe.
So maybe that was in another lifetime or a lifetime to come. Because we can go into lifetimes that are, everything's happening all at the same time. So we can tap into anything.
And it will have a bearing, but it's different because you have to look at where you stand, where you sit on dreams. So when you first said the story, you didn't tell me that you were in front of the house. You just said that he came at you. So that's an interpretation. So the way it works is you're supposed to remember all the nuances of the dream, all the little things, the pebble, the wind, the this, the that. And then you'll find out that there's a message that they're trying to give you.
I just want to know who the guy was.
Well, you might find out. But you know,
wasn't
that's
anyone I
very interesting
recognized.
that you said that, because I would sit with Aldo and we'd watch movies together.
Aldo was a smart guy.
But yeah, but you know what he used to say to me? Say there was a number on the door or a car that was parked and you have the number. He would say, what was that number? Because he was training, and it just came to me, training my mind to be able to recognize these things. I say, well, I don't know the number of the door that they knocked at. He said, look, and next time remember that number, which is very similar to what you're saying.
It's funny, my grandmother, I once told her a dream about being in a car and it was raining. And she said, with the windshield wipers on. And that was the whole significance of the dream. And again, you have to break it down, but what they tell you is one thing, and then you have to break it down, like, you know.
We have to be our own, basically analyzing it in a way.
Well, it's a message.
But the first thing that anybody, including me or anybody, you know, is that be aware that it is a message, because you can go your whole this lifetime without understanding that. But we really gift ourselves in a way with these messages. So why not, you know, even if you may not even really totally believe it, just think about it and say, you know what? It's like, which I use the analogy with a car. I need to go one way and not the other. I know now, I've got some idea who's giving me the message, but most of us, most of the time, don't know. But just follow our instincts.
The words you use is your interpretation of the message. That's why it's important that when you ask somebody, you listen to what they say, because your words are the interpretation of what you understand.
Exactly.
And it's vital that you understand, you hear exactly what they tell you.
So
and
why
we're
do you
all at
think-
different levels on the journey.
So why do you think I had this old woman touch my face? What does that mean?
Because maybe she wanted to. I'm feeling that she wanted to show her presence to you, Dawn. The
What
fact
hand
that
did she use?
You remember that? I don't.
The
Oh,
left
now
or
I
the
gotta
right?
think
No.
about it.
Just
Did she have nail polish?
No, it
Were
was
her
black and white.
Were
now
her
you're
fingers
sounding like
long?
my friend Aldo used to say to me. But I believe, from what I'm feeling, is that she wanted to let you know that she was there for you. I don't know the rest of your dream, only what you told me, but just to take notice that somebody was there. Maybe you wanted some protection at that particular point in the dream, or what may be happening. I think she touched your face so that
I
you
think it
would
was her right
remember.
hand because it's my right cheek.
Okay, so look at that as a really good message, that she was ready and she's protecting you.
somebody's
And I believe
giving
it was
you, yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, somebody's giving you something.
It was. I'm getting my goosebumps. It was. Did you see much of her face?
And totally. And I usually dream in color, and this was totally black and white.
This is a message, a path that you've passed.
And it could be from a previous lifetime, or what's going to happen in another lifetime, because we can go backwards and forwards with that.
And
it
I
could
had
be another
forgotten until I
timeline.
started telling my dream. And then the funny thing is, I'm telling you my dream this morning, and I drive past, and the lawn truck is at the light next to me. It says "Heaven Sent," and all I could do was laugh and think of you. Because as I'm telling you the story, the lawn truck that says "Heaven Sent" is going straight across. I'm
There's
like,
your
wow.
answer, Dawn.
Right.
Synchronicity.
100%.
And I'm learning so much more about that, because I was home for the month, so I watched many programs, which I don't usually do, because it's more real to me if I hear somebody say something, you know, that I have mentioned before. But the synchronicity is there. If you raise your vibration just slightly, and I heard this the other day, it made perfect sense. Everything is here. We can see everything, only we don't know. So if you lift your vibrational energy to that point where they may be, you're going to be able to hear, because I hear. And I'm going, how in the world really can I hear this? But because I've raised my vibrational energy, I don't hear this all the time. I come back off the show and I'm back to everyday living, but I still get synchronicity. But all we need to do is just go up a notch. We have I write about that. I didn't even know what I was writing. The answers are all around us. We don't have to suffer in this world. We all do, and it's a difficult world, and we know that. But if you can just take yourself out of it a little bit, and everybody express that by love, unconditional love, I believe that we can help a lot of what's going on.
I met someone over the weekend who sounds like you. She says, everybody can do this. and she has these dreams that are premonitions and things that messages of life. And she says, well, everybody can do this. Maybe everybody can, but not everybody
everybody's
accesses
ready.
it. Maybe that's it.
Well, not everybody does it.
Everybody has we're here, and there's a reason that we're here too. But they call it waking up, and actually that's a good way to describe it a little bit. I believe that every one of us that's here can do this, but we're not always ready. I mean, it took a lot for me. I was already in the middle part of my life. I'd had things being happened to me, as we show on the trailer. But and you've mentioned some things to me that have happened. I wasn't ready. It actually took someone in physicality to come and knock me on the head and get a message that I can paint, which I've mentioned before. And I'm drawing things from previous lifetimes. I had to start to believe that.
But look at this one next to you,
Yep.
right?
But
We met for a reason. There are no,
Yes.
there actually was no coincidence. There was this path that I met you for a reason.
definitely.
And there are so many places to put you on this path. You know, it's like the little, the Candyland little toy. You can put her here, and she does this. You put her here, and I can just move you along the path, and you fit in every single peg of this path, this journey that we're on. Is what I see.
And it's not coincidence.
And I think when you begin to realize that, and it's not coincidence, you're sitting here now with everything that I needed to find someone that can help me with what's going on with me. It's nothing serious, but I'd like to get rid of my cough and my voice going like this and my
I don't know
rash.
it's not serious.
Well, I know it's not serious. I don't want to believe that.
That's
no,
not
it's not
serious.
serious.
She's
Otherwise, I feel well. But I needed someone to help me with this because I think maybe it is some sort of allergies that I'm suffering from. And I'm not knocking the medical profession. I think, and you know this too, it's needed. But there are alternative ways that we can help ourselves. I mean, what I'm doing, it's an alternative way of thinking. But it works for me, so why not do the medical part of that too?
Sal, I have to ask you, we're going into our fourth quarter, right? This is supposed to be the season. This is our season of doing things. What did the guides say about happening with the studio?
Okay, well, a lot of it is going to come about not the end of this year. It's the beginning of next year. You're going to get your contacts right now, and you're already starting to get connections. But it's going to take, again, there is really no time, but it's preferable, that's what they're telling me, to start a lot of these things that you are thinking about in the beginning of next year. Because the contacts, you start with a contact and an idea and an inspiration, but that takes a little time. Doesn't mean that it's not going to work. I believe a lot of these inspirations of what you're doing is coming to you, but I'm going to say February, March of next year, it's going to more or less explode. Your ideas of what you're doing, and Freddie's giving me that face again, but you don't, again.
I don't have February, March. No, I
Yes,
have that
yes,
time.
but you're working, no, I'm not saying it won't happen, these things. The ideas are coming about, but you're going to be putting more together. It's going to take a few more months. Sorry, that's what I'm feeling. But it doesn't mean that this is not going to happen. The major part of what you're doing, okay, they're showing me major. The most important part is going to all come together. Now you're on the process of organizing. Going back to the puzzle, I think I talked about
What
that.
you don't know
This
is
is-
all these grants, they're for 2025, and I can't apply for them until January 2nd.
There you go. But that's for a reason, Dawn, because that's when it's all going to start. Thank you. I love the validation
Sorry.
too.
He does, that's what I worked
You
on
love
this
the
weekend.
validation, though, don't you?
Yeah, I love that. So
I can't
yes,
apply for a lot of
That's
many more
okay.
until January 2nd.
it's definitely the way that it's meant to be. Now, I didn't have any idea of that, but my guides did.
He didn't either.
So
Yeah, this
there
has
you go.
happened.
So that was a very important message, because you guys are connected, and you asked the question and Dawn gave you the answer, and I validated the answer. Okay, so we're all on the same vibration.
All
So
the same
that's
vibration.
good. That's good. It's good.
And what
Because
else does Elizabeth have to say?
She's watching you, and
She's
she's
always
going,
there.
look after yourself, Dawn.
Any
please."
messages from my kids?
From your kids or
For.
for your kids? Okay, it's like your daughter is fine. Stop worrying about her. Okay, please, they're saying that. Stop worrying about her. She knows what she's doing. She gets under your skin a little bit. Oh my God, this is coming so loud. But it's okay. She's fine. All right? It's just that she has to tell herself too, once in a while, I am okay. This is working out. but she's a little obstinate. She doesn't always listen to her mother. She doesn't always listen to herself. But tell her that what she's thinking and what she wants to do will work out. It takes time too for her.
That's a good word, abstinence.
Obstinate.
That's a good word.
Oh,
Do you know the
and your son
secret?
is all right.
Do you know the secret is that Dawn never talks about is that she was as obstinate as her
Was
daughter
or is?
was.
Well,
No.
like mother, like daughter, but then you were my daughter in a previous life too. So,
But you were.
and I am obstinate. In
but
my
you
own
were
way, too.
obstinate.
Yeah, but it
You were
carries
just
on.
like her.
So you see, but that's a learning experience, okay? That's very important what you just said, Freddie, because we learn from our kids. Our kids learn from us, but we have situations with our kids, and it goes a little deeper because it's family. And you know, it may hurt or it may be more joyous for us, but that's a lesson that we pick our family. Of course, we can have reverse roles. Our kids could have been our parents and vice versa. But in this particular lifetime, with family is a very good learning lesson. And she's teaching you something too, Dawn.
Oh yeah.
Patience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just love watching Carrie's face, taking
Yeah.
all of this in.
Yeah.
I am.
But she's more than, from what I'm saying, and I mean, again, it's entirely up to you. But I do believe that you're more than ready right now because we have to start somewhere. You have, and I know this, I know you've only told me a few, but you've had many things happen to you. But if you think back on the things that you've happened and say to yourself, you know what, I'm beginning to see why that happened. Even opening up, you did a little bit to me, you know, of what had happened to you as a child. That was to tell you that these things in our mind are real. But the most important thing I feel that I should tell you is have no fear. Please, because you can get caught up in a lot of fear, and fear will stop everything. It'll stop it in its tracks. And you know, we're human, and certain things do scare us, but just know that you can definitely overcome that. And what you see, you are ready to see. And don't let people be fearful to you. If they're scared, that's, you know, we're all individuals. I try to me, I don't have a lot of fear. I just, you know, maybe that's silly too, because we've got to be aware of what's happening. But it's important for me to tell you that. Take that fear away a little bit. If you feel that something is happening to you in your sleep or vibrational energy, go with it. And you'll see some amazing things.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Well, the fact that you're aware of it, that's all that, that's my job, is to tell you that be aware of it.
I guess, so here's a little bit of my hang up. You know, I work with my patients and they say to me, there's something different. There's something, you have something. I don't know what that something is. And I'm kind of a concrete person, you know, so I don't know if it needs a label, but it's just something that I don't know how to explain to other people, you know.
It's validation for you.
Well, that,
because
I think I
you know that.
definitely need that.
Because
you know?
we sense, you know, I sense, it's we can't really see vibrational or energy, but
Right.
it's there. You
Yeah.
know, you can explain it to, like on the internet, all the
Right.
vibrations that go out, we don't see, the Wi-Fi. But some people have that. And obviously, if people have noticed that, and I feel that too when I first met you, it's a vibrational energy. And if they're in tune with that, not everybody's going to see that. Not everyone's going to see what I'm doing. But if you're in tune with that energy and it meets, it's like, okay, we're where we're meant to be. And oh my gosh, look what just happened. Keep that vibrational energy when someone says that to you. Accept it, and you'll see synchronicity will start to happen. Things that you don't know that are going to happen, you'll see the validation, just like we have seen that. It's so important. Again, I say, you know, there's negative and negative is not always a bad thing because we learn from that. But to be positive is so important, and it'll attract. We've heard of the law of attraction. That energy on that higher vibration will attract people at that level. And you're meeting people. You meet people that you don't know because they're coming in to see you. Be aware of that because they're sensing something in you. And you guys will have, whoever it is, will have that in common. And it's important to recognize that. And that's I feel, a very important message that I was meant to tell you. Okay,
Thank you,
so, and I'm glad I was able to do that.
Sally, do you see the next step for Carrie growing her business?
Well, you're following your passion. This is something that you wanted to do. So that goes really, without saying, because I talk a lot about that, the people that will come into your business, or for me, I needed the help from you. We meet in the studio, but that synchronicity carries on. So I believe if you're following your passion, you're definitely doing what yes, you may have done many things as I did before this. I did many different things, but I'm doing what I want to do now, and I'm meeting the people that I'm meant to be meeting, and the same applies to you. Because if you're happy with what you're doing, that's basically the answer. Just continue with that.
I know after treating patients, not all, but some, I usually get in my car and call my husband or my mom, and I'm like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is what I'm meant to do. This is what I've always meant to be. So
yeah, and it doesn't matter when you start. If you're later on in your journey, the fact that you've started your journey here, and I feel that because people say, well, I do the show here. I love it. I love it to help people, but I'm also doing it for myself too. It suddenly came to me the other day.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yes.
What about when your path has stones, or people put stones and block stones, and there's an old saying that says, I want you to be successful, I just don't want you to be too successful. So how do you overcome all of that outside noise?
You be truthful to yourself, Freddie.
How do you do that?
By staying by your own convictions of what you feel. And many people have said, I've been doing this show for a long time now. I know that this is what I'm meant to do. I don't have to, not too many people because they like watching my show, but, some of them do, maybe some of them don't, I don't know, but the answer is out there somewhere, I don't know. But as long as I'm happy with what I'm doing it for other people, but I'm also doing it for me. I'm learning. When I don't often go back too much on the recordings, but when I do, I'm teaching me. I said, because it's not coming through me. I don't mention too much about being channeled, but this information is being channeled to me. I'm on a different wavelength now. I'm on a higher vibrational energy. So I'm learning. We never stop learning. And what's really important, and Aldo used to tell me this too, we think, my life, how much longer? No, we don't lose what we're learning, because this is important. I truly believe that when we come back, we're not always, we don't remember, but if it's our time to remember, that information that we learned in a previous life or lives before that is there. It's there in our super consciousness. That's what he told me. So you can learn again in that lifetime, but you're going to learn quicker. I did. I learned a lot of this very fast. I surprised myself, but he told me I knew all this in another lifetime. So I was ready to open up. So don't ever stop what you're doing, even at a certain age, because it will continue. It goes into our being, who we are. We come back as, let's say, humans or whatever planet we go on. I believe we stay on Earth for a long time, many lifetimes, because it's a difficult lesson that we're all choosing to learn. And we eventually do graduate. I learned that the other day. We will graduate, but it could be many lifetimes from now. But we're helping ourselves. And by helping ourselves, that's how we help other people. That's important.
Interesting. So that's the message of the day. By helping you have to help yourself first.
It wasn't me saying that, but they said
But it's not easy, because you're sometimes it requires you to speak up. Sometimes it requires you to come off like you're telling somebody, it's my life, let me do what I got to do, or you have to be a diplomat, and sometimes you have to do it out of guilt. People do things out of guilt, which you shouldn't do, just because you're so concerned about hurting other people's feelings.
Well, all these things are good things in a way, but there's a way to tell people certain things in a diplomatic way. I mean, if you take an instant dislike to someone, I'm not going to go up to them and say, don't come near me, I don't like you.
No, but what if they say something like,
away.
what you do that doesn't make any sense, or they say...
That's their problem, and I don't mean that in a rude
or
way.
They say, in your world, I can imagine in your world, they say, what you're talking about doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And you should stop, or this, or that. And then they become judgmental the moment you tell them politely.
Yeah, well...
You tell them politely.
Yeah, you
mind your business.
But we're learning.
Polite.
No, I understand. But there's a reason for that too. We're both learning. The person that might not like you, or I don't like that particular person. If you're aware of that, there's a lesson to learn from that. I mean, I sound like everything is fantastic. No, it's not always. It goes sometimes.
There's
the
a
wrong
lady
way.
that once told me that the reason the obstacles are put before you is to see whether or not you really believe in what you believe in.
I love that. And, that's
And then
very
all of a
wise
sudden,
lady.
if you take one step forward and 2 steps back, are you really ahead in the game? No.
No, because we're on a continual journey of learning. We come back and we're still learning. So if you've learned some of the lessons here, but you haven't finished the lessons, and I know we've mentioned this before, they will repeat themselves in a different scenario. If you meet somebody, it's the same thing. And you say, I'm so done with this person because they have this, this, and this. If you're not done, the next person you're going to meet is going to have this, this, and this, exactly the same. Someone once said to me, you change a pair of socks for another pair of socks.
You know, it's funny. In my life, there were 2 people that I made a commitment to, and neither one of them understood a word of what I said. Neither one of them understood a word of what I did. And both of it, and ended up one 5 years, the other one 17 years later, it didn't work out. But I don't feel guilty because if you don't understand me, how can you condemn me?
This is true, but there's a learning lesson for both of you in that situation.
Yeah, there won't be a third, I can tell you that much.
Well, yes, because if you haven't got rid of that, say, karma or whatever we want to talk about it, but you're aware of it, so you're 3/4 of the way
But you
there.
know, someone's definition sometimes, Sally, is really none of my business.
Right.
So don't express it to me. Don't tell me what you
Well-
think, because I really, you know, I got to do what I got to do.
And that's good. That's very important.
But sometimes people think it's selfish.
They're telling me stand by your own convictions.
Well,
you know,
and
and
sometimes
that's really
people think you're selfish, or you're not being humble, or you're being ridiculous, or what's that word? Obstinate. That one.
But you can't, they're also saying you can't please people all the time.
But why do I have to please anybody's opinion?
You don't. And the fact that you know that, you don't have to do that, Freddie. It's a hard lesson because you know, we're innate. I don't really like to hurt somebody, but you know what? If they're hurting me today, I realize this and I've woken up for this. I don't have to take that. Not just me.
Yes, but the message isn't to rebuttal because they hurt you. You're supposed to understand why they hurt you, and you're supposed to overcome that. Because otherwise, you become dumb, and that isn't the lesson learned.
Well, and that's very true. But if the situation is something that is really upsetting you, you either stick with it and try to fix it, and if you really can't, and you walk away. But unfortunately, if you do that, and I don't do this, I don't follow what I'm talking about sometimes, but if you walk away, I guarantee that that same situation will come up again. You have to.
You
clear
didn't
that
learn how to
karma.
fix it.
And you have to learn. That's why we're on a learning path. So that's what we're here to do. And then that's out of the way, but guess what? Something else is going to happen. And then, again, something else is going to happen. But
So when
we're ahead of the game.
So when it
because
comes
we're
your
aware
way,
of it.
then you should. Number one, now I expect it, and I laugh about it, and sometimes I don't say anything about it.
What about getting married again?
No, not that one.
Oh.
That one I don't even
Are
think
you
about.
done with that one?
Yeah. Well, I'm not good at it, so why do something you're not good at?
I do believe you have to fight to become who you're supposed to be.
Of course it is. That's you. That's your
Yeah.
DNA.
I do believe that completely. Because if I hadn't had to fight for my life and had to fight for my health and had to fight for my son, and I wouldn't be where I am now. And I just think you're talking about the black stones in the way. I so see them as I'll pick them up and chuck them at you to take that next step. That just, if not like I'm going to hurt anyone, but that's, if I have to move forward without your blessing, I'm going to do it.
That's
you
a
know?
continuation of your path, and I'm hearing that too. I've had a lot of obstacles in my way. The fact that when I came over here from England, I knew no one and I had very little money and left everything behind. But today, when I look back on that, has made me who I am today. And we all have a story. Some is a little more dramatic than some others, but the more dramatic and the more hurtful, and you learn by that, you become and it's true, a stronger person because you survive it. And the people that look back and say some of these obstacles that I overcame, well, be proud of yourself that you've done that. You can either say, oh, poor me, and always be, oh, my poor me, this is always happening to me. Or you can take note of that and say, look who I've become, look where I'm going today. And that's an important lesson.
Well, the amazing thing, in the short period of time that I've known you, you haven't cast one stone, but you've healed 100 souls. So you have to figure that out.
I'm not into like casting stones. I've learned how to, so I always tell, you know, I was a teacher for a long time. Yes, we all have these heavy things that we carry around. Either you can continue to carry them or you can put them down to make the path and lead you where you need to go. I used to say that all the time to the kids because a lot of adults carry around all this weight that they shouldn't be. So I when I said I pick it up and chuck it at them, I didn't really mean that. But, you know, to move it out of your way and to let it off your shoulders and not carry it around anymore so that does pave your way, I think that's really what I meant. You know,
You overcome.
Yeah, I think you have to.
And there's a lot of people around you, you know, you're in the business of witnessing challenges, for lack of a better word. So not the news coming towards you is not going to be, I feel great. It's going to be, I don't feel good. So I don't feel good is a bigger challenge than I feel great. And you getting them across the bridge is it's a different mindset. You live two sides of the sword because one is your survival and the other one is others that bring you their survival. So it's a different view. It's a different perspective. Okay.
That was great. So I think it's time to say bye-bye for now. Okay, and I'll see you guys next week. Well, personally, I'll see you. You're more than welcome to always come in and visit my show. Okay, this time next week. Thank you all for listening.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybarnard.com.